Hi, I'm Lisa Prather, and welcome to The Voice of Health with our host, Dr. Robert Prather of the Prather Practice, where lives are changed every day through the natural approach to healthcare. Today we're talking about screen time, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And Dr. Prather, what is meant by screen time?
Well, screen time is the whole social media. You know, we were talking about time on the computer, time on your cell phone, time on your iPad. Those are all considered like screen time things. The whole social media platform is one of the big things that's going on with that and what they mean by that, and which has become a very big part of people's lives.
Right, and we're going to talk about the effects it has on our health and some things you can do about it. And they're talking about this being the new smoking, you know, and having some of the same effects that smoking has. So very interesting. Now, what is meant by this title, the screen time, the good, the bad, and the ugly? It sounds like, you know, some mafia movie.
Well, it's a spaghetti western.
Spaghetti western?
Yeah, it actually starred Clint Eastwood.
Okay.
You had never seen it before?
Well, I've heard this term. I didn't know.
The good, the bad, and the ugly. Okay. Yeah, it's a very famous movie.
I'm always learning something from you.
Okay. One of my favorites.
Is it?
Yeah, so, you know, when we're talking about that, when you're talking about the social media platform, screen time, the whole thing involved with that, there is a lot of good. You know, so as we're thinking about that, information is critical. You know, there's several opportunities to learn. I do a lot of my research online, you know, where I'd used to have to go down, you know, if that wasn't available, down to the library and do research. So knowledge, information has really been made available to people. There can be a tremendous amount of convenience. So a really awful lot of great things. But there's also an awful lot of bad things that are going on. You know, on the internet, social media, all those types of things. There are health problems that have occurred. There's bullying. There's all sorts of issues that have arisen that we're going to get into. And then also there's quite a few of ugly things that have arisen from the social media. One of the things that we would talk about on that, you know, what I consider ugly would be the pornography industry. So you really have a mixed bag with this. And it's not that the technology is bad or that in itself it's a problem, but this is definitely, you know, a problem that I didn't have when I was a kid.
Yeah. So let's talk about screen time and how it's affecting our health.
Yeah, and people say, well, you know, is it really? And one of the things that is really kicking up is something called text neck. Which I thought was a pretty funny term. It was actually coined by a chiropractor. Was it? Yeah.
Text neck. Is it a diagnosis?
Yeah, I mean, people are actually talking about it like that. And it has a very strong popularity behind it. And something that I was quite surprised that it is actually going on. One of the things is a couple of years ago, I took an x-ray on a young girl, and there was your occipital protuberance in the back of your skull, kind of like this little bump. It's supposed to be just a little protuberance, and she had a spike back there, a horn.
I saw this article that said teens are growing horns on their spines.
Yes.
So that literally is true.
Literally going on.
We're evolving into...
Yeah.
Humans are having horns because of their screen time. Because of their
screen time. It's something that had never been seen before 5 years ago. And now we're seeing it quite a bit.
You're seeing it on x-rays.
We're seeing it on x-rays, and usually it's on young people. And which is kind of frightening. This is, I mean, literally, no one had ever seen it before in the history of humankind. But now we have it. So that's how much of an effect it's starting to have. It's changing people's spine. And when we're talking about text neck, one of the things that normally occurs as people get older is their head translates forward.
Yes.
Into your head translation. It's part of the things that happens when you get old and feeble and start to lose your balance. Well,
it doesn't have to, but yeah.
No, and it's something that speeds up the aging, something that we fight against quite a bit. But now what we're doing is we're seeing that on 14-year-olds. And they don't have kinesthetic sense. They don't have it actually causes you to be like you are old and senile. You have dementia.
You see these kids, with their head forward.
Right. And it's from the constant type of thing.
And the rounded shoulders.
Yeah, it's changing people's posture. I mean, how much more can it affect you? So, we're seeing this type of a thing. We're seeing different types of spasms. We're trying to get that relaxed and get people trained to get their head back. But it causes headaches. It causes mental confusion. It causes neck pain, balance disorders, jaw issues. It's causing tinnitus, vertigo from the ears, pressure
tinnitus
on there.
Is the ear ringing.
Yeah, cuts down on lung capacity and causes heart problems. So we're talking about a whole host of things that are occurring on teenagers that we just never saw before. And the teenagers are the ones where they're getting so much of a formation. I mean, when you're talking about the average teenager, they spend 8 hours a day in screen time.
8 hours a day.
8 hours a day is average for a teenager.
It's a work day.
Yeah, it's like a work day. So, they're constantly going on with that. One of the things that's actually a condition, kids go into panic if you take their phone away, where they actually have a nervous breakdown. But, if you take their phone away, they actually have panic attacks.
Well, and then the phone and social media is causing depression and anxiety.
Right. Yeah,
I know we're
rates
going to get into that.
Yeah, that's one of the things that is going on. When back in the 70s, when you were talking about antidepressants and psychiatric types of drugs for teenagers, the percentage was about 0.3%. Now it's about 28% of all teenagers are on psychiatric type drugs. So, what the heck are we doing to our population? The way that kids are actually walking around and their formation of their body has been changed because of this. The way that their thinking has been changed. The depression rates have gone right through the roof. And a lot of that, they say, is really geared towards the social media. Because when we're talking about this whole thing, there's a huge amount of manipulation going on, which is really quite amazing, on how they're trying to shift their minds. Because the whole thing is that they are designing social media to keep your eyes on the social media. So they are programming this to keep us glued to it on a constant type of basis. The more that they can keep us on there, the more that they can sell to us, the more money that they make. So if they can keep your eyes glued on their social media, on their screen time, then they're making money. If you're not on there, they're not making money. So what they've done is they've done a tremendous amount of research to find out how they can keep your eyes glued to the screen. And people are falling for it and falling big time, where they are controlling us. This is like a big brother, scary stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, I heard a lecture by someone who is a psychologist, child psychologist, who came in, who was offered millions of dollars to figure out how to manipulate 5-year-olds. To get them to spend time on the screen time and to resist mom and dad from getting them off. That was her job, is to make sure that these 5-year-olds, because you've got 5-year-olds who are spending 2 to 4 hours on screen time.
Well, I remember this little patient we had. She was just 5, and she was having issues with her thumbs because she was on the phone playing games or being entertained, and she ended up having to have surgery.
Right.
5 years old.
5 years old.
Overuse of her thumbs.
And that's actually becoming a very common problem. And it's not just the overuse on the thumb. A lot of the developmental things, have really gone out the window. You're not going to get better adults, you're not going to get better teenagers, and you're not going to get better children by being on the screen. It actually deteriorates. They've proven this time and time again. One, it changes your posture, it changes your brain, changes your vision, it changes your mental outlook, it disturbs sleep. I mean, this goes on and on and on, and they're trying to make you watch it more, make you more and more of a captive of it,
addictive.
And have it more. Yes, they're trying to make it as addictive as possible.
They say usually the first thing that people grab when they wake up is their phone.
Right.
A lot of times their alarm clock's on it, and I know you don't do that.
No.
Your phone is down in the kitchen.
Right.
And then you got an old-fashioned alarm clock you use.
Right.
And I try to keep mine across the room. I don't have it right next to me.
But, what's the first thing you look at in the morning? What's the first thing before you go to bed?
Right.
And there's so many people who check their stuff. Mm-hmm. And that blue screen causes insomnia. Mm. So people who don't have the screen time sleep better.
Yeah.
People who are on the screen quite a bit.
And you sleep well.
I sleep very well. How am I with my screen time, would you say?
Yeah, it's almost like you don't own a smartphone. I'll call you and I say, why didn't you pick up?
I try to get away from it as much as possible.
Right, and yet you're one of the smartest people I know, so you don't have to gain that knowledge. You're not getting your knowledge from that.
No.
Did you say you thought the internet was a passing fad? You say that.
I always like to tease people about that.
All right. When we come back, more on the effects on our health, and we're going to have some helpful solutions too. You can win a free 60-minute massage in a relaxing spa at the Prather practice. Each month, we have a drawing to give away a free massage to one of our lucky Facebook and Twitter fans. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter on our website at thevoiceofhealthradio.com. This is The Voice of Health with Dr. Robert Prather. The Voice of Health Wellness Tip with Dr. Robert Prather of the Prather Practice. What conditions can be helped with acupuncture?
The World Health Organization has actually done some definite research. Also, the National Institute of Health has done quite a bit of research on acupuncture with quite a bit of very strong evidence on what it works for and what it doesn't. If we take the digestive area, abdominal pain. I have a lot of people with severe abdominal pain. We can put the needles in. Oftentimes there's immediate results. Constipation or diarrhea, we can get some changes along those lines. The reflux has some very, very good results on that. Emotionally, I have a lot of people coming in for anxiety or depression. Insomnia. I have had patients who even after the first treatment that night, they actually were able to sleep. One gal said, I haven't slept in a couple of days, Put the needles in, she fell asleep on the table. And she said, wow. Infertility is a very common type of thing with a lot of research on.
We have a lot of people coming in for
very high success rate for that. But there are very definite points that affect fertility that are very important to know. It's just not that you're going into an acupuncturist, he's randomly putting some needles in. You have to know where those points are, how they're affected, be able to evaluate them, see which ones are off, and how you can actually make an effect on the body to actually increase the fertility rate.
Have you had success with
getting
infertility?
Women pregnant?
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the best way to put it.
Right.
No, very definitely. We have a very high success rate with women with infertility. We have several proud moms who are also coming in for after the birth, just to help to relax because it helped them so much. One, to get pregnant during the pregnancy, help to control the pain, nausea, all those types of things. And then afterwards, it's a very trying type of time, and find that the acupuncture is very helpful at that time. But a very, very good success rate. I'm probably saying it's almost 80%.
Wow.
Which is really, really good. So we're very proud of that, and glad to help women in that struggle.
Find out if acupuncture is right for you. Schedule your appointment at the Prather Practice, 317-848-8048. That's 317-848-8048. Or learn more on our website at thevoiceofhealthradio.com. The Prather Practice, restoring hope.
I feel good. I knew that I would not. I feel good. I knew that I would not. So good, so good. I got you. Wow.
You're listening to The Voice of Health with Dr. Robert Prather of the Prather Practice, the most comprehensive wellness center in the Midwest.
We're talking today about screen time, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And one thing I read on the text neck we were talking about, and there's actually, you said a chiropractor came up with that term. And, I see patients waiting to get adjusted on their phones, looking down.
I would say 80%. When you go out there and you look at people waiting to get adjusted,
Yeah.
80% of the people are on their phone.
Yeah.
With their heads forward.
We need to do something about that, actually.
Yeah, we need to start educating them and saying, hey, that's not the best thing to do. And then afterwards, all of a sudden they whip out their phone. One of the big problems is, we're working on somebody and their phone rings.
Uh-huh.
Oh, here, let me...
Yeah, they can't just leave it alone.
No, it's who owns the technology. Does the technology own you? Or do you own the technology?
Are you in control?
Are you in
setting
control?
the boundaries?
Yes.
Are they?
Or are they? And they are, and I mean they, as in, big, organized, mean, nasty people who don't care about you. You're just a number. Mm-hmm. If you sit there and you go to the big executives in Silicon Valley, do you know that they do not let their children own
Yes.
or have any type of screen in
That's
front of them?
interesting. Yeah, and yet they're working on everybody else.
Yeah, but they're trying to capture it. Well, I don't want my kids controlled by that stuff. Mm-hmm. Parents need to, take charge, and if you're not strong enough to resist it, that's your problem.
Yeah, and it's very important. It's up to the parents. You can set, settings on how much time, and then it's off. But I was reading this article that it says staring down at our devices is like carrying an 8-year-old around your neck all day.
Yeah.
Think about that.
Right.
Staring down at our devices. And if you look at people, it's almost like they're worshiping. I heard this actually at our church. We're talking about, we have a 3-part series on this whole issue. And that's what made us think about talking about the health issues.
Sure.
But it's like, we go to it for advice instead of God. We go to it for comfort.
Right. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Just how much people's life is centered around their social media.
Well, let's go back to the text neck. What is text neck, and is it a real problem? I think we kind of answered
about
that.
Mm-hmm. So, the head translation. You're talking
about it's going forward. Your ear's way over. It should be lined up with your shoulder, but it's way forward.
Yeah, ear should be right over the shoulder. Shoulder should be over the hip. Hip should be over the ankle.
Well, I'm sure listeners are going, oh, yeah, I see. I mean, you see it in those teenagers.
Sure.
Walking around with their heads forward.
Right.
Yeah.
It also then involves a change in the musculature. They actually become tight and taut, and there should be a balance between the muscles, between the extensors and flexors, the forward and the back. And one of the things that happens with the text neck is that natural balance is flipped. Again, we talk about homeostasis. So we're changing the homeostasis of the structure. We're changing the homeostasis of the muscles. We're also changing the homeostasis of the nerves and how they're functioning. So the whole upper motor nervous system is functioning differently than what it should be. Mm-hmm. So how are we going to go in there and actually start to correct it is the big thing.
Right. And let's talk about that. How can, first of all, we avoid text neck?
Well, one, if you're going to be on your phone, get the proper position. Mm-hmm. Put your ears over your shoulder, hold up the phone so that you can actually see it, see what you're doing, and then limit the amount of time that you're on there.
Yeah.
How much time do you really need to spend on your phone? Mm-hmm. For me, it's hardly anything. Mm-hmm. I probably spend maybe the max 10 minutes a day. Mm-hmm. And you believe me, don't you?
Yes. it's usually texting me back or
Right. It's like, what now? Sorry, I missed your phone call.
yeah. But thinking about your neck and head position and supporting, and there's different things you can get, that have, like, you can get a floor stand for your iPad or even for your phone that's movable so your neck is in good position. You can get any of those things on Amazon. They're not very expensive, but so helpful.
Standing computer.
Yeah.
You've got that.
I use a standing computer.
Because you have to be on, because you do quite a bit of our business stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So
I love it. I got that at IKEA, so I can move it up and down and
sure,
yeah,
get those positions, because a lot of people are having issues with that. Mm-hmm. Now we do a lot of correction.
Yes.
For rehab, that's a very important part of you do. Mm-hmm. And then also for durable medical equipment. Why don't you talk a little bit about what we've got?
Oh yeah, we have a neck brace. Actually, it's covered by insurance. Mm-hmm. That people, it puts that neck, it's like a neck collar that we can adjust, and people wear that 10 minutes a day. And they start at 10 minutes a day and working up to 20 to 30 minutes. Mm-hmm. And they can wear that at any time during the day. But that's helping bring that neck in proper position. And we're seeing great results with that. We also do that along with strengthening those extensor muscles and working on posture through a nice chin glide or chin tuck. Mm-hmm. Very important. I tell people they need to be thinking about that throughout the day. Write yourself a Post-it. Using the word breathe and chin tuck. When you're driving in the car, you can push that chin, glide it back into the headrest. Those posture muscles are so important. One of the, I tell people that have jobs that they're sitting a lot, we call it wall angels. You don't even need to find a wall, but it's like when you used to make angels in the snow, you're just doing that upper body. And you would believe how many people, if their back is up against a wall, they can't get their arms in hold-up position back to that wall.
Right.
And then you're just gliding those arms up. And 10 reps, 2 or 3 times a day when you go take a bathroom break, make a world of difference.
Sure. It really does. And simple exercises really can make a huge and quick difference along mm-hmm. those lines. It's amazing how much, occurs with that. Now, one of the things is balance, too. Mm-hmm. If you have the head forward, balance is off. And it's amazing how many kids never used to have problems with balance. Nowadays, if you do balance tests on them, they're all over the place.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
So it's starting to change. We're seeing people showing signs of aging at a much younger age because of their imbalance of their spine.
Yeah. Yeah, and we talk about this next generation's not going to outlive the previous.
And they're going to be sicker, too.
Yeah, and this is part of it. We're talking about the screen time, the text neck, along with the opioid addiction.
Right. Well, with the whole drug addiction, I mean, the amount of drugs, illicit and legal, drugs that has increased. You're talking about pharmaceutical sales that have quadrupled since the 1970s. Mm-hmm. Far outpaced the population, and the growth.
Yeah.
And people who never were on drugs before are all of a sudden, and that's one of the things that the pharmaceutical industry is doing, is how can we then expand? Mm-hmm. These corporations are not good.
Yeah.
Their only job is to sell things, and we need to have government and people who are wise enough that limit the what corporations can do.
Right. So important. And let's talk about. We talked a little bit about the screen time and how it's affecting our children. Anything else you wanted to add about that?
Well, not only that, but they're doing MRIs on brains, mm-hmm. and they're finding that the neurodevelopment is not occurring normally. Mm-hmm. The more children are on social media, on the screen time, the poorer their development is. So, you're not getting the math skills, you're not getting the language skills, you're not getting the social development portions of the brain. So they're actually seeing visible changes on kids' mental and emotional development that shouldn't be there. I mean, how are we going to have a normal functioning society when we're raising kids in this type of a manner?
Right. Okay, when we come back, more on, one question I want to ask you when we come back is how much time is too much for children?
Listen to the Voice of Health Radio on your smartphone or tablet on all of the top radio apps available. TuneIn Radio, Stitcher, and iHeartRadio. You can find these apps and more on our website at thevoiceofhealthradio.com. This is The Voice of Health with Dr. Robert Prather. Laughter is the best medicine.
But I have a newfound respect for doctors, I do. Because when you think about it, unless we're sick, we listen to absolutely nothing doctors tell us. They're like, you should lose weight. Never gonna happen. What else you got? You should exercise. Does eating French fries count? Get out of my office. I don't even listen when I bring my kids to the doctor. The doctor's like, to avoid an infection. I'm like, my wife's like, what'd the doctor say? Don't pick the scab. I don't listen to nerds.
The Voice of Health Minute with Dr. Robert Prather of the Prather Practice.
The strongest antibiotic known to mankind? Gold.
Gold. And we carry that, yeah.
Right. And it doesn't produce antibiotic resistance. A very interesting thing that they used to do in the ancient days, the reason that gold was so valuable, so if you got a cut and it got infected, they would beat out gold, put it over there, wrap it up, and you would be cured of the bacterial infection. We've used gold for MRSA infections and had extreme success when none of the antibiotics were actually working. So, there are a tremendous number of alternatives to antibiotics. And again, I'm not opposed to antibiotics. I'm actually very pro-antibiotic. We are coming to the point that we have no choice. Antibiotics won't be working.
Schedule your appointment at the Prather Practice, 317-848-8048. The Prather Practice, restoring hope. Are you frustrated by not getting to the root cause of your health issue? Are you tired of not knowing why you're always fatigued? Are you wanting to say no to toxic drugs? Have you lost hope? Are you just tired of being sick and tired? At the Prather Practice, we want you to know that we have the answers for you. We offer the alternative to the disease care model. We are the drug-free model to health and wellness. At the Prather Practice, we look for the underlying cause of your health problem and not just the symptomatology. Through thorough diagnostics, we find your individual health blueprint for your treatment. Where the disease care model is symptom-based, the structure-function model we practice gets to the root of your health issue. The Prather Practice is the most comprehensive wellness center in the Midwest. Our integrated practice offers you the most treatment options to restore your health and your hope. Learn more about the Prather Practice by calling 317-848-8048 or learn more on our website at thevoiceofhealthradio.com.
Doctor, give me the news. I got a bad case loving you. No pill's gonna cure my ill. I got a bad case loving you.
I'm Lisa Prather, and you're listening to The Voice of Health with Dr. Robert Prather of the Prather Practice, where we get to the root cause of your health issue.
We're talking today about screen time, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And Dr. Prather, we're talking about, children. How much time is too much for children, screen time?
Well, really below the age of 8, it should be 0. But we have done it ourselves.
Right, with our
grandkids,
yeah.
When we've got them out there, and then we want to keep them entertained when we're at a restaurant. So the main thing is that you control completely as far as what's going on with the screen time.
You can set those controls, and we talked about that, right?
I mean, it's ridiculous for a teenager to be on their screen time for 8 hours a day. Mm-hmm. What people are doing at this point. So, what is reasonable, what's should be, you should limit it. There should always be a control. Mm-hmm. Anytime that kids are on the computer or on any type of phone, they should be supervised. Mm-hmm. Because there's a lot of predators, there's a lot of things that can pop up. And just like you wouldn't put your kid in a dark alley at midnight in some downtown city, you don't let your kid just go into social media without any supervision. Mm-hmm. It's a very dangerous type of thing, and you should always know what your kids are doing. One of the things is that I had a situation where I figured out that this young girl who was a patient of ours, she was having a lot of anxiety, a lot of headaches, things like that. And it just turned out that she was just being bullied online. Parents had no idea whatsoever, that there was just this big thing that was happening. And just getting to the root of that and getting that under control is something that is very, very important. And it's amazing how much value and esteem kids put into, what their standing is in the social media world.
How many likes they have.
Yes.
Yeah, and they post something and you want to look right away. Well, wonder how many likes did I get? And right. I didn't get as many.
Oh, it gets a lot more sinister than that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's all a very... Mm-hmm. That's the mild type of stuff.
That's the mild, right.
That's the mild. It gets pretty serious from there, where there's predators, there's sex traffickers. It is a very dangerous world out there, and you need to treat social media that way.
Do you feel like parents should at any time be able to look
Absolutely.
over their child's?
Yeah, mm-hmm. you need to constantly be aware, and your child has to know that everything that they have on their social media is yours. Mm-hmm. And that you will be monitoring it 100%. And kids will be going, no!
How was that? That was good.
That was pretty good, yeah. And you just say, okay, then you don't have any.
Then give me the phone.
Yep, give you the phone, you're done.
I'm paying the bill.
You have no screen time then. Mm-hmm. It's either I'm in control, I'm monitoring it, mm-hmm. or you don't have any.
Yeah.
It's those two choices. And if you establish that and be very thorough about that, then, that's an important thing.
So how are they manipulating? And when we say they... Is this Silicon Valley?
Yeah, it's Silicon Valley. It's, marketing gurus. Mm-hmm. They're paying millions of dollars to get a good grip on this.
And how is it being done? What I've heard is they're trying to work on the lowest part of our brain, the brain stem.
Right. Well, that's what they call the reptilian portion of our brain. Mm-hmm. That's where you can actually get the reflexes. That's where you can make people drool, in other words, like Pavlov's dog. Uh-huh. So that's what they're trying to do. And they work on the fear, the excitement, the anger, the emotional, the primal emotions. Mm-hmm. So if they can get you upset about something and get you angry, then that's, as far as they're concerned, that's great.
Yeah.
So, they try to get to that point. And can this have big impacts? A very interesting thing was that there was an election in Trinidad where they had two different groups. And Trinidad is made up of two different populations, people from African origin and people from Indian origin. And what this one group, they were paid to help to sway an election. And so what they did is they figured out that if they targeted the teenagers, they could actually influence them not to vote, the young people. Mm-hmm. And so they had just say no, a big movement. And what they knew is that the Indian kids are obedient and will still go out there and vote, whereas the kids from African origin would do what they wanted to. So they didn't have to target one group over the other, and they swung the vote.
Wow.
They actually changed the vote by 6%, which was enough to win the election for the Indian population. So, that was a whole manipulation on an election. And changed an entire election. We're dealing with that in our own country, talking about how the elections can be swayed. And they can be. That's something that is being done, and is also being done to control how you vote with your pocketbook. So there's an awful lot of power, there's an awful lot of money involved in that, and how they can actually try to implement that in your life is to try to hit those lower emotions.
So we're targeted also.
Yes, absolutely. Everybody is targeted. And every single person, they have 50,000 points of information on you, on every single individual, to know exactly.
50,000. What does points mean? Just 50?
It would be like your habits, what kind of. So all of a sudden that you post on on Facebook that you've got a picture of a grandchild, all of a sudden you're going to start getting hit with all these marketing things for grandkids, for babies. They know that almost instantly. And then they also monitor your response to them, how long you actually look at it, whether you kind of screen and go to something. So then they start to build a real-time information on how to, so the marketing will actually change in real time to you.
Crazy. Wow.
Yeah. It's they know more about you than you know about yourself.
About my habits.
No, about you. Not about your habits. It goes beyond habits. They know what makes you tick, what makes you upset, what makes you happy, what makes you sad. They know
I'm not too exciting, am I?
They know everything about you that they can predict, and the more information they get, the more they're able to control you and to hit those types of buttons. The only way that you can really start to learning how to control that and actually just saying no and getting off of it.
Yeah.
Is one of the big things to do. That's the only way, kind of off the grid.
I know, because I was getting in this habit, I'll be honest. I didn't have Facebook for the longest time, but we were having a high school reunion, and my brother says, you need to get on Facebook. They can't find you. And then, that started 3 years ago.
Right.
But I was getting in this habit of just that Facebook feed.
Yes.
Oh, like, okay, one more. Oh, another one. And
they look at that and then feed those through.
Yeah.
And then they interpret which ones you respond to and which ones you don't. Facebook gives the most information about an individual than any other platform. It is the most telling and revealing.
So that's the evil empire.
That's
Twitter's not as bad, or I don't have a Twitter. Then there's this TikTok. It's fairly new.
Sure.
That, yeah. So we talked about, the effects on children. We talked, on teenagers.
Yeah, teenagers, it's really, again, the amount of drugs that they're on, the depression, the problems, the sexual exploitation online is huge. So really monitoring, of course, teenagers love their parents to be involved in their whole social life. That's an easy type of thing, to really monitor and kind of get their cooperation. But you have to protect them.
Well, and I know even, our kids are in their 20s, and when we were together at Christmas time, or they come, their phones, you can have like a basket, and people walk into the house and they put their phones in the basket.
Sure.
Because they're not going to. I mean, my 83-year-old dad, I was with him today, and he was on his phone most of the day.
Did you ask him to put his phone in the basket?
I'm gonna send him this radio show.
There you go. It's all ages. Are you? And again, it's a matter of who's actually in control and who's actually calling the shots. And if we allow social media to call the shots, they are going to call all the shots. They are not going to take the high road.
When we come back, we'll talk about, positive things that we can do so that it doesn't control us.
Never miss an episode of The Voice of Health so that you can stay informed and empowered about your health. Get a podcast of our show automatically delivered to you every week by signing up for our show on iTunes. You can find that link on our website at thevoiceofhealthradio.com. And don't forget, thevoiceofhealthradio.com has complete archives of all of our past episodes with an audio library of information to help you add more life to your years and more years to your life. This is The Voice of Health with Dr. Robert Prather. The Voice of Health Wellness Tip with Dr. Robert Prather of the Prather Practice.
How about vitamin A's role in gut health? Gut health is so important. You talk about how healthy our gut is. It's how healthy we are.
So every major disease that is in the gut is always helped by vitamin A, because vitamin A, just like with the lungs, immunoglobulin A is the major immune system through the gut. So it really helps to get your immune system up. But then also vitamin A is absolutely critical for the lining of the gut, small intestine, large intestine. And so if that starts to break down, then you start to get the whole breakdown of the whole tissue. And then you start to get the food allergies that start to occur. And that's why that's associated with the bumps on the back of the arm. So the bumps in the back of the arm are two things that means, is that you have food allergies and probably kicked off by low vitamin A. People have heard about the leaky gut. You cannot fix the leaky gut without getting the vitamin A levels back up to par. So, that is a very critical part. If you have Crohn's disease, ulcerative colitis, IBS, diarrhea, constipation, cystic fibrosis, any of those types of things, you're going to have to work with the vitamin A. Now, once you develop those diseases, your absorption of vitamin A goes way down. So it becomes, if you have any of the different types of diseases in the gut, if the gut's not working right, then you can't absorb the vitamin A as well. So you can see where that can become a vicious cycle and really start to wear down the whole system. Now, it doesn't just end there, but you also have to have the bile in the gut to be able to absorb the fat soluble vitamins into your system. So let's say you've had your gallbladder taken out. Well, guess what? You're going to be deficient on vitamin A. And that's going to start to create a whole cycle in your system of actually wearing you down. So anyone who doesn't have a gallbladder is going to have to take supplementation the rest of their life to be able to absorb their vitamins.
A lot of people don't.
I know.
They think their problem's been solved.
Right.
Take the gallbladder out.
Which is necessary at times. I've certainly sent people out.
Yeah.
But we always try to heal it up, and then if they do have that out, we always say that they need to do supplementation because of that. Otherwise, you're going to start to become deficient on all your fatty soluble vitamins.
Makes sense.
Schedule your appointment at the Prather Practice, 317-848-8048. That's 317-848-8048. Or learn more on our website at thevoiceofhealthradio.com. The Prather Practice, Restoring Hope. Have you ever been curious about how acupuncture can benefit your health? The Prather Practice has received the Indy A-List Award for Best in Acupuncture for 2 years in a row, and we've been rated the top acupuncture provider by Google+. Dr. Robert Prather is a board-certified licensed acupuncturist. He's earned a reputation for combining effective acupuncture-based techniques with cutting-edge technology to help patients with many conditions. Acupuncture is documented and proven to help with many health issues, including pain, allergies, addiction control, anxiety, fatigue, vision problems, infertility, and so much more. We even have needle-free options for those who are a bit squeamish around needles. Call the Prather Practice to schedule your appointment and experience the benefits of acupuncture for yourself. 317-848-8048. That's 317-848-8048. Or learn more on our website at thevoiceofhealthradio.com. The Prather Practice, Restoring Hope. You're listening to The Voice of Health with Dr. Robert Prather of the Prather Practice, where our mission is restoring hope to our patients.
We're talking today about screen time, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And, for listeners out there, we're going to talk about maybe some steps to take and some things to think about. But let's talk about, what effects are happening with young men. We're going to talk about the area of pornography. This is the ugly part.
Right. The whole thing of a 30-year-old living in his parents' basement is kind of a big joke, but it's actually pretty common when we're getting into that. And a lot of that has to do with screen time. One of the things that occurs that they find is, actually I know of an example. I had a guy who was actually an elder in a church who got hooked on pornography and quit his job, stopped working, also lost his marriage, and basically just sat around and did that all day.
Was on pornography sites.
Screen time. And he was doing that 12 hours a day. And that was his whole life. One of the things is, what is an addiction? It's something that changes the pattern of your life and then takes up inappropriate times of your life's, what you're doing. And right now they say that 70% of all men are addicted to pornography.
70%.
70%.
Wow. Well, the access is so easy.
Right.
You had to go look for it before, but now it's finding you.
Yeah. And the big thing that's associated with that is that's pornography is actually even more addictive than any drug. So it hits at a very primal level. Again, what is it that you want to do is you want to hit right down to the reptilian brain. And that's something that kind of kicks up on a male very, very easily and very quickly. Matter of fact, pornography actually built the internet, the money from pornography. So it's a very big industry and causing a tremendous amount of problems. One of the things is that they feel is that the number of young men who are going to universities, getting college degrees, going forward, and a lot of that has to do with their screen time. So, it's making a big difference, and probably they're saying that 25% of all males have had their life goals deleted because of their screen time. There is, it never used to be, back in the 70s, young men being treated for erectile dysfunction never was heard of. Now they say that 28% of all young men have erectile dysfunction.
And when you're saying young men,
18 to 30.
Wow. Yeah. Wow. You said 28%.
28% from the ages of 18 to 30 are having erectile dysfunction problems.
And isn't there, I've read, some fertility problems? Keep your phone away from your groin.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
That'd be a whole show. Keep your phone away from your groin. A whole campaign there.
Yes. And, I did have a patient who came in who developed a brain tumor on the side right where he had kept his phone on, because he was constantly on his phone.
Do not keep it by your pillow, right?
Right. So it's you're talking about quite a bit of problems right in through here, and making very big social changes within how everybody's operating.
Right.
Norms and how people view things can be changed very quickly with social media. So, society can be changed, society can be manipulated. And you can manipulate things for the good, and you can manipulate things for the bad. And right now, the people who are involved in pushing social media are not good people. These are not
They have an
people
agenda.
who they have an agenda. They have corporations. They're trying to sell different types of things, and they're working on the lowest common denominator to make those changes in you. They're trying to arouse fear, anger, lust, all the 7 deadly sins, to make you, they create, for young ladies, they're trying to create insecurity. They try to make them feel like they're not pretty enough. They're not, fashionable enough. They're not
skinny enough.
They're not skinny enough. They're not, they're not enough. And try to hit on that lower level to be able to manipulate them so that they can control and make them spend money.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about what are some practical things that we can do.
Well, first off is a realization of what's going on. Be mindful.
Yeah.
Don't go into it blind that this is and that people aren't behind it.
Use your brain, not your brain stem.
Right. Use your brain. Know that it's a tool, and you control that tool, not the tool controls you.
I know for us, we've decided after 7 p.m. not to talk about The Office.
Right.
We try to keep to that rule. We don't always, but we do for the most part. And that'd be good with phones. I know our son just decided, he's raising 2 boys. When he gets home from work, he's leaving it downstairs so he can focus on his boys, and leaving it down there through the night, so he doesn't have it right there in his reach, when he's in bed. I think that's a important step. You always have yours downstairs.
Right.
Not close to you. You can put it on silence, right?
Right.
There's a lot of things that you can do. You can decide, ask yourself, why am I on Facebook?
Right.
Maybe I need to take a break from Facebook, or I need
fasting.
Yeah. We had one of our employees do that. We couldn't get a hold of her one evening, and she was on
one weekend,
yeah. Guess I didn't want to admit we were trying to get a hold of our employee over the weekend. But she was on a technology fast.
Right. Which I thought was a great idea.
Very important idea. So, Dr. Prather, we have about a minute. What would you like to also add?
Well, the things that I would probably say along those lines is especially for children. I mean, they're very vulnerable. So we as parents need to have complete control over that and put our foot down. Our children will appreciate that. Spending the time, to play with them. Getting those types of interactions, those inputs, those fun types of things that really help to develop them, and trying to avoid just the easy way, because really, when you're talking about screen time, it's a lazy man's means of occupying his time.
Oh yeah, and you could be, and you can even use the screen to read a book. Read something inspirational. Yeah.
Right. So, again, as long as it's a tool, it's fine. When it becomes something that's controlling you, it's dangerous, and you shouldn't allow that to occur.
And don't have them at the dinner table when you're out in a restaurant. You know how you feel when you're talking to someone and then they pull out their phone? I mean... Right. Yeah.
Well, I remember when I took out about 12 kids. And all 12 of them were at this great big table, and they were all about 14, 15, and they were all looking down at their phones, and it was just like, people. I said at the front of the table, I said, put away your phones. I'm paying for this dinner. Interact.
Interact. Oh, what's that? Well, thank you, Dr. Prather, as always. Very informative.
Thank you, Lisa.
The Prather practice is located at 8902 North Meridian Street on the north side of Indianapolis, just south of the I-465 loop. If we can help you to achieve better health, we'd love to hear from you. Connect with our office at 317-848-8048. That's 317-848-8048. Join us again here next week or anytime on our website at thevoiceofhealthradio.com for The Voice of Health with Dr. Robert Prather.